And he went on from that to be in Legends of Tomorrow, which is on the CW. It's part of the Arrowverse over there. He plays Heatwave. He's actually one of my favorite Legends of Tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
I like him as an actor, but I hate him as Dracula.
I mean,
Like,
he's not Dracula. He's Drake.
It's terrible. Like, they
He
tease
only
you with
loves his
this
bed
amazing
and
like
his mama.
monster.
He's sorry.
They teach you with this amazing monster, right?
Yeah.
It's, oh my god, this is hardcore, right? And then it's just this guy with the shirt with too many buttons unbuttoned and a necklace. If the villain was good, it would have salvaged a lot of the movie.
Yeah.
Like, if it was like a cool, charismatic guy you love to hate and was fun to watch as Dracula, I think that would have gone a long way to salvaging this. But since all of his scenes are so cringeworthy, you can't even enjoy the villain. You know? Like, you were talking earlier about Batman and Robin or this. Batman and Robin, because Arnold Schwarzenegger is just so hilarious and enjoyable.
He is funny.
Yeah.
What killed the dinosaurs? The Ice Age.
The eyes, that's hilarious. It's
It's
like
not accurate, but it's hilarious.
Yeah, same thing with
So-
Bane just going Bane.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's
that was
funny.
so bad.
So I mean, one thing that bad superheroes can do right is at least have fun villains, right? And the ones that you've been harping on, Parker Posey, just complete cringe. You can't fix this movie; it's broken beyond repair. But if you change one thing, you change Dracula,
Okay.
and I think it could work better. So,
I would agree with that.
All right.
so you, Lance, you who had seen these movies as they were coming out,
Mhm.
was probably really hyped for Blade 3.
I was.
What did you think when this came out?
I was pissed. I was like, "What is this nonsense?" It was terrible. I didn't like Dracula. I hated all the new characters. There was too much Ryan Reynolds because, like, this is like Ryan Reynolds is just very annoying. He's always on his Deadpool personality. That's all. Like, if you watch all of his movies, he acts the exact same. It's kind of like a Michael Cera, Jesse Eisenberg. They act the exact same way in every single movie, and I find it annoying every single time that each of them do that. Ryan Reynolds is like that for me, and so in this movie, it's just too much. And I think, like, a good, like, one of the few like good things in the movie that he did was when he's talking to Jessica Biel. He's like, he doesn't like me very much, does he? And she's just like, nope. And I was like, yeah, that's us too. We don't like you very much in this. Like, God, shut up.
Yeah, I haven't seen the Deadpool movies, and I don't think I've seen much with Ryan Reynolds in it, but he was definitely the first major weak point in this film for me. When he came up, I'm like, whoa.
Well, even the first. I mean, let's talk about how this movie opens. Right, it has like 3 openings.
Mhm.
It's weird. I'm like, you start with like these waves of blood, and you get Deadpool. Like, hi, I'm Deadpool. Like,
Basically.
I'm like, what is a Deadpool movie? And you go from that to like them going to Dracula's tomb in the Middle East, apparently, because it's the early 2000s, and everybody knows about the War on Terror. I guess that's what that was. I don't know.
But it was giving me some major X-Men Apocalypse vibes.
Yeah, very true. But then I'm like, oh, this is actually like there's a horror moment here. A guy's head gets bit off. It's like this. I think they do the strobe a little too much, like with the camera, like a strobe. Like you're in a haunted house a little too much, right? Yeah. But that was like, oh, okay, this is pretty good. So Monster Dracula's coming out, and then we go to this really cringy news interview with like this doctor and a police chief.
Yep.
And it turns out both those guys are familiars too. So I'm like, is this all an act? I don't know. I feel like you definitely dropped the Ryan Reynolds intro because it served no purpose. And I think that's probably comes from the reshoots because the ending was all like kind of confusing. They had a Ryan Reynolds voiceover explain it all. They're like, well, we just can't have that at the end. Let's put this at the beginning too. The book ended. I think that's probably what happened there. Pick one of these things. Either the Dracula's coming out of his tomb, Blade 3, and then have a real opening sequence, right?
Yeah.
Or have this kind of goofy, like, oh, vampires are weird, right? It kind of shows you, oh, the Blade, his stuff is finally getting noticed by the quote-unquote real world. And that's actually an interesting idea you could do something with, right?
It is an interesting idea.
But they play it for a laugh, and then they run through it so quickly, and then it's over. But so anyway, I think if this is very schizophrenic to start the movie like that, and then you have another scene of Blade hunting vampires, and the credits just kind of happen over that. Really cheap credits too, right? I mean, like, anyway,
yeah,
that's my take on how it opens.
It's interesting. You mentioned like an interesting aspect that they could have leaned into was like the public being made aware that there was somebody out there hunting vampires, and then the whole question of like, are vampires real or are they not? That type of deal. Like what threat did they pose if they are real? That's kind of an interesting concept that they never lean into ever in this. But the opening sequence, though, is probably the most realistic thing that probably ever happened in the Blade franchise, and that is Blade, black man, caught on video camera murdering somebody, right? And then immediately immediately after that like footage is sent, there's a manhunt. He is immediately hunted down. He's immediately caught. He is immediately like approached by like a full SWAT team and all this other stuff and taken in. You contrast that with other movies where other people who might not look like Blade do the exact same thing. They are the same thing does not happen to them. So kudos to them for doing something realistic.
Yeah, and I boiled that down to like it was the involvement of the vampires that like they knew where he was, but they needed a reason in order to get to him that quickly. They couldn't just arrest him; they had to get the public against him as well.
Well, I think that
That's
was
part
smart.
of it.
I think that was smart to set him up.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
I mean that was like, hey, I'm not a vampire because I mean the stuff Whistler and him talk about later is like leaves no trace when they kill a vampire with humans.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, oh, that's smart because you think how do they go undetected doing this?
Mm-hmm.
And that's actually, you think all the way back to the first movie, the way they killed him and how they just disappear. I'm like,
Mhm.
oh.
Except for the guy
well, that's how they
kept
can just
burning
do this.
in the
That's
first
true.
one.
I mean, he was worth it. Donald Logan's still the best character in this entire trilogy
That's
outside
true.
of Blade.
And Whistler.
But yeah, to your point, Lance, that yeah, it is a little overkill by the law enforcement to just go full SWAT team on this guy.
Yep.
Mhm.
Right? But we know why.
Yep.
But yeah, I think the first, what is that, like the first 15, 20 minutes?
Mm-hmm.
Like there's like an like make the whole movie that. Make Blade having somehow been revealed to like the normal world, and now humans all turn against the vampires or something like that.
That movie is actually a better movie. That's a good movie right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Save Dracula for the fourth movie. I get the appeal of wanting to have Dracula because he came from the Tomb of Dracula comics. Right?
Yes.
Mhm.
But I mean, there's so many, like, I could not think of a worse CW-esque interpretation of Dracula.
That does not how Dracula looks. Like, that was bad. Like, casting this guy was a miscast.
Yeah, just cast a cool-looking Eastern European guy.
Yeah.
Right? And don't have him wear a shirt with two buttons,
Uh-huh.
shiny necklace, and and then the whole shape-shifting thing, like, the only time that even matters is when he turns into Whistler.
Yes.
But why did he even need to turn to Whistler when he shows up? And then immediately people are like, "Oh, you're dead," and then he
Mhm.
kills everybody except for Ryan Reynolds and the little girl.
Yeah.
Why did he turn? Did they need to give Chris Christopherson more screen time? Like,
I
I
guess.
don't understand why he turned into Whistler.
Maybe he had a certain amount of time in his contract.
That's true. He wanted to hang out with Wesley Snipes more.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, Wesley was just like, he's like, man, you gotta stay on for like a couple more days. I can't take this.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just very poorly executed ideas from that point forward. But I think, it's the classic, like the superhero gets his identity is revealed
Mm-hmm.
and then he's captured and then you figure out what to do from there. But then they just take a complete left turn and there you go. But what did you think about the retcon of another daughter for Whistler?
So, I'm just disappointed that she wasn't played by Brent Spiner.
Genius. I feel sorry for people who listen to these podcasts, Brandon, and don't know anything about Star Trek because people are like, "What are these idiots talking about?" Like who?
Okay, give me a break. We know that the only people that listen to the show know us from our Star Trek podcasting. Okay?
We know our audience. Yeah, it's like they go to the length of repurposing a scene from the first film
Mm-hmm.
where Whistler's talking to Karen
Yes.
about like, I've been hunting vampires since before you were born, and that was actually a Blade impression, not a Chris Christopherson. Excuse me, but they act like they want you to think that he's talking to his daughter.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want this life for you, Abby. They ADR that
Yes,
line
they
at
did.
the end. It's like, I just watched Blade 1. You're not fooling me.
Yep.
That's a scene from Blade 1.
Yep.
So, I don't know, like, because even Blade's like, I thought Whistler's family was dead.
Uh-huh.
Oh, I'm another daughter he had out of wedlock. I'm like, that is such an odd way to say that.
Oh, yeah.
Like, why don't you just say, yeah, he had me later? Like,
Kids out of wedlock aren't really their children, Zach. Gotta be married.
Sick. So that was a weird introduction. Totally knew that, like, they really, like, did they think that was gonna fool everybody? Like, oh, look at this lady with a baby. Like, I wonder who it's gonna be.
Mhm.
Like, did they really think? Because that went on a long time.
It did.
Like, I get how she walks by the lobby and then maybe the action scene happens, right? Because all the vampire, like those punk teenagers, like, oh, we're gonna get her, we're gonna get her, we're gonna get her. But then she goes and sits down by a train.
Yep. And then she looks to the left, looks to the
She
right.
looks really scared. And it's like, guys, cut to, we know that this is Jessica Biel.
Yeah.
Right? Just cut to the chase. The thing about Blade 2 was he worked with a team, but they were vampires, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that was kind of cool because they were kind of antagonistic. This was like, my reaction was very similar to Wesley Snipes' Blade when he like meets this team of misfits, right?
Yeah, for sure. He's just like, you guys don't know what you're doing. that's basically the thing. And he already hated Ryan Reynolds, and then as a audience member, I did too. And everybody else is just like, I don't want you working with these people. I want you to be Blade and Whistler and just doing your thing.
Right.
But they just, they took Whistler out early in the raid scene, and then he's forced to be with these people. He had such a great
death. I mean, talk about resurrecting him for the second one, right?
Yeah.
Whistler had a great death moment in the first one. And in the third one, he just kind of like, he blows up their hideout, but then he dies in there. And you're like, oh, he's dead.
Yeah.
Like,
well, just wait till the next movie.
Well, at first, because I honestly thought that he wasn't in Blade 3.
Mm-hmm.
That's the other reason I was kind of amused and annoyed that they brought him back for Blade 2. I'm like, I don't think he's even in Blade 3, but he is, because I don't remember him being in any of the trailers or anything. I just remember the daughter. I'm like, oh, well, he's gone, but his daughter's here. Like, that's what I thought. It was one of those deals, but he's actually in the movie, and to have him just blow up like that, and they're like, oh yeah, Whistler's dead. Like, that's what we get from this character. Disappointing. I don't know. It made all the wrong choices, and Blade is the star of this franchise, and he's marginalized here,
He is.
Part of that's probably Wesley Snipes didn't want to do any scenes, but I'm sure he had some creative control. I mean, he's the star.
Possibly, yeah.
But even in the end fight, like we always talk about how Blade gets like stripped down to a table and all that. Like, notice Blade is wearing an athletic shirt.
He is.
I'm like, the Snipes just not want to work out enough?
I don't know.
And he's like, look, man, I ain't taking my shirt off for this. But in the last scene in the morgue, he is shirtless. Like we get our Blade on a slab shirtless moment, and obviously he's in great shape. But because it was red too. Like,
yeah, that was an odd choice.
I have a shirt that looks like that.
Yeah, like his costume.
Red turtleneck.
Yeah, his costume this time. Like I was not feeling the red. Like, not that much of it, at least. Like, because there was just like little hints of that red color just for a pop. But like in the other movie, well, in Blade 2, not in 1, because he was all in black in the first Blade. But in Blade 2, there was just like a little bit of hint of red. It's like, okay, I like that. It's a nice, good looking scheme he's got working. Here is just too much. And then like the whole like the little medallion thing in the middle on his vest was also a little bit too much too.
I got nothing to add right now. I don't know. This movie was not good.
No,
it really wasn't.
It's unfortunate because I was digging the first couple movies. I probably said a little more negative than I actually felt on the second one. But I dug the first two, and I just think about the curse of the superhero trilogy. Spider-Man, Dark Knight, Batman, Superman. Like, I don't know what it is about this third movie. The MCU broke the curse, but it's more like this universe. But even inside the MCU, like the Captain America trilogy is great, But there are like Avengers movies and stuff in there, so that's kind of a way around it. There are more than 3 great X-Men movies, but they're all spread out.
Yes,
there's like three in a row of great comic book movies. It's just such a insurmountable task, and I don't understand why it's so difficult.
Three-peats are hard, man. 3-peats are hard. That's why Michael Jordan's the GOAT, because he did it twice.
I would disagree with Spider-Man 3. I think Spider-Man 3 is really good.
No, it's
not.
Of
course you do.
No, it's
of course
not.
I do.
I'm here to tell you that it's not.
Oh. I love
Brandon.
the Sandman in that movie. I think he's great.
He's the best villain of the 3.
Yes.
In
No.
Spider-Man 3.
Oh, in Spider-Man
Yes.
3, yes. Sorry.
Yeah, he's the best villain of those 3. New Green Goblin and Venom.
Uh-huh.
So you look at other superhero franchises and you think, what's the problem, right? And you think, oh, well, we recast the hero. It's not happened here. Too many villains. Didn't happen here. I guess there are a lot of villains, but it wasn't like... This would be like if Blade was fighting Dracula and Nosferatu and what's another famous vampire? I don't know.
Morbius!
Morbius, right? Like, if all 3 of them are in here, like, overload of villains, that's another problem with superhero franchises. That's really not the case here. But really, it's the writing and directing. That's what it all comes down to. Like, I wish, like, they better brought somebody else in to help David S. Goyer, because, I mean, he wrote the first 2 movies, so he knows what to do. He just needs somebody to help him, I guess.
But, I mean, this movie literally had numerous, and I'm talking numerous, penis jokes in it. And to one point where Parker Posey has to literally tell like, you know, the people in the room to stop doing it.
Yeah.
Like in that interrogation scene of Ryan Reynolds, it's just like, is this like self-commentary or what? But like, was she actually feeling that way in the middle of it? And they just kind of let it go. But like, that was also another legit problem in this movie. Is like the quippiness that people complain about in comic book movies in general.